Lin Ruoxi sat in the last row of windows in the classroom. Her head was so low that it was almost buried in the table hole, and the pendant in her hand was outlined lightly on the sketchbook. She was wearing a pair of thick black-framed glasses, her legs were a little worn, and there was still a little ink mark on the bridge of her nose that had not been cleaned. Outside the window, at the Yangwang High School exercise, several boys were playing basketball and shouting, but she had no intention of watching it, and her whole heart was just gossip she heard in the corridor. I heard that Xu Haotian had arguing with the director again and fell to the door and left. Zhang Xiaoqing next to him was chewing gum and speaking in annoying language, her short pink hair flashing under the sun. She crossed her legs, and her school uniform skirt was changed to a shorter size by her, and she was also holding her mobile phone to brush the community software. This guy is really not a fool, and even the director is not good at him. Ruoxi, do you think he is born so arrogant? Lin Ruoxi shook his hand and the pen line became crooked. She quickly wiped it with an eraser, pretending to be careful painting, and said in a small voice, well, maybe. In fact, her heart had long been in a mess, and Xu Haotian's name was like a small stone, which penetrated her calm lake of heart, stirring up circles of ripples. She secretly raised her head and glanced at Zhang Xiaoqing. Seeing that the other party had not paid attention to her, she relaxed her voice. Xu Haotian, a legendary figure in Yangwang High School, is also the object she has secretly missed for almost a year. He is the kind of existence that can be recognized at a glance when standing in the crowd. He is tall and upright, with a short hair that is always wearing black leather cushions, and his body is scattered with a "don't mess with me." No one in school dared to look him directly because his eyes were always cold as if they could kill people. But Lin Ruoxi just likes to look at his eyes, not because she is cold, but because she always feels something hidden there, and she can't express her unclear emotions. Hey, Ruoxi, you're in a daze again. Zhang Xiaoqing suddenly came over, grabbed her sketchbook away, and looked up high. Yeah, I'm painting quite seriously, this is. Wait, isn't this a playground? Why is there a back in a leather jacket? Ha ha ha, Lin Ruoxi, are you painting Xu Haotian again? Lin Ruoxi's face turned red and hurriedly reached out to snatch it. Xiaoqing, stop being so arrogant. Give it to me. Her voice was as delicate as a mosquito hum, and she was so anxious that she almost cried. Zhang Xiaoqing smiled even more disgustedly, hiding her hand, and deliberately whispered, Hey, wee little fairy Ruoxi is so happy. It's not something that can be said at all. Xiaoqing. Lin Ruoxi stood up in an anxious manner, his voice rising a little, which attracted several classmates in the front row to look back. She hurriedly returned to her seat, buried her head lower, and wanted to find a place to diamond. Zhang Xiaoqing saw that she was so anxious that she gave her the notebook and patted her on the shoulder. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. But seriously, if you really like him, what do you have to do? What's the use of hiding in this painting and writing diary? Lin Ruoxi bit his lip without saying a word. She knew that Xiaoqing was for her good, but she didn't have that sarcasm. She is so ordinary that she can't find someone like Xu Haotian. She has a moderate performance and is similar in appearance. She even speaks as if she is not eating. How could she get close to someone like Xu Haotian? When she even met him in the corridor, she would get sweaty when her palms were tight, let alone actively talking. After the next class, the classroom is always hot. Zhang Xiaoqing pulled Lin Ruoxi out. Go, accompany me to the sales department to buy beverages. I'll invite customers today. Lin Ruoxi didn't want to go, but she couldn't resist Xiaoqing's enthusiasm, so she had to follow her out of the classroom. The campus of Yangwang High School is not big, and it takes a few steps to get a small sales department. The road is full of students, and the laughter is coming one after another. Lin Ruoxi followed behind Xiaoqing with his head down, clenched his bag in his hand, and stared at him unconsciously, for fear that he would bump into a familiar figure if he accidentally did. Ruoxi, look over there. Zhang Xiaoqing suddenly pulled her sleeve and pointed to the path next to the playground. Isn't that Xu Haotian? Why is he standing there alone? Lin Ruoxi's heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and he looked in the direction that Xiaoqing pointed. Sure enough, on the path beside the playground, Xu Haotian stood by a tree, with an unlit cigarette in his hand, slightly lowering his head, as if he was thinking about something. His face looked particularly three-dimensional under the sun, his eyebrows were slightly bent, his lips were pursed into a line, and his body was filled with a coldness that kept people from thousands of miles away. "Let's go and have a look." Zhang Shaoqing pulled her forward excitedly. Lin Ruoxi was shocked and hurriedly refused. "No, no, no, I won't go. You can go by yourself," she said as she wanted to run back, but Shaoqing was not willing to let her go, so she dragged her forward for a few steps. "What are you afraid of? You're not going to confess, just take a look." Lin Ruoxi was unwilling to do 100 things, but she was still dragged by Shaoqing to move forward. She lowered her head and pretended to look at the road, but in fact she was already very panicked. The closer Xu Haotian was, the more she could hear the faint smell of smoke and grass in the air, and there was a clear breath that could not be described, which might be the smell of skin on his body. Her palms were covered in sweat, and her brain was in a mess, and she even began to think, what should I do if he suddenly turned around? What should he do if he knew me? Although, he could not know a passerby like me. Just as she was thinking about it, Zhang Shaoqing suddenly stopped walking and said in a low voice, "Hey, who is he talking to?" Lin Ruoxi raised her head and found that Xu Haotian was standing opposite him, wearing a famous school uniform, and her face was as sweet as if she was walking out of a magazine. It was the school beauty Chen Manting. She was smiling at Xu Haotian with her head raised, and her voice was so soft that it could drip out of water. "Haotian, don't you always be so cold? There will be a party tonight, okay?" Xu Haotian's expression did not change much, but he just replied coldly, "I'm not interested." His voice was low, with a little impatient feeling, and he turned around and wanted to leave after he said that. Chen Manting seemed to have not expected that he would be so embarrassed. Her face froze, but soon chased after him again, took his arm, and said, "Don't be like that, everyone is waiting for you." Lin Ruoxi stood far away and looked at this scene. She felt like she was blocked by something, and it was difficult to say, it was hard to say it. She knows Chen Manting. Who doesn't know her? The school beauty of Yangwang High School has a good family background and is well grown, and she is always in the mood to go. Moreover, she and Xu Haotian always go in and out, and there have been rumors in the school that they are the same. Although Xu Haotian never admitted it, Lin Ruoxi still feels like a joke every time he sees them standing together. Yuji, Chen Manting's clingy skills are really not a clue. Zhang Shaoqing curled her lips and complained in a low voice, but Xu Haotian is too confused. The school beauties are like this, and he still dislikes them. "Hello, Ruoxi, do you think he doesn't like girls at all?" Lin Ruoxi pulled the corner of his mouth tightly, but did not answer. She didn't want to listen to these, nor did she want to continue watching, and said lightly, "Shaoqing, I'll go back to the classroom first." After saying that, she turned around and walked away, as if she was escaping something. Back in the classroom, Lin Ruoxi sat in her seat, staring at the sketchbook on the table, staring at the sketchbook. The scene just now replayed in her brain like a movie scene, Chen Manting's smile, Xu Haotian's indifference, and her own indescribable loss. She flipped through the book and found the page she had just painted, stared at the back of the leather clasp for a long time, and finally picked up the pen and wrote a line of small words next to it. "Shouldn't I really have such an idea?" She was absent-minded in the afternoon class. After finally getting off the school, Zhang Shaoqing ran to find her again. "Ruoxi, let's take a walk in the riverside tonight. I heard that there is a new dessert shop there, which is very delicious." Lin Ruoxi wanted to refuse, but looking at Shaoqing's face full of expectations, she still ordered it. The back lane of Yangwang High School is a shortcut, and the path leading to the river bank passes through this somewhat broken place. The walls in the alley were covered with tiny dung, and there was a faint smell of garbage in the air. Lin Ruoxi followed Zhang Shaoqing, looking down at the stone road under his feet, and still thinking about the daytime events in his brain. Suddenly, Shaoqing stopped and poked her in the arm. "Ruoxi, look ahead." Lin Ruoxi was stunned and looked up. He saw that the alley was deep. Xu Haotian stood against the wall, with a lit smoke hanging in his hand, and his face was half hidden in the shadow, looking a little lonely. He didn't seem to notice them, but just looked down at the foot, his eyebrows tightly locked, as if he was thinking about something. Lin Ruoxi's heartbeat accelerated instantly. She subconsciously wanted to hide, but her feet seemed to be unable to move on the ground. At this moment, Xu Haotian seemed to notice someone and looked up. His eyes were cold, as if he could penetrate people. After passing Zhang Xiaoqing, he finally fell on Lin Ruoxi. At that moment, Lin Ruoxi felt as if he was fixed and his brain was blank. She even forgot to breathe and could only stand there blankly, her hand was whitened by her. Xu Haotian's eyes were not very warm, as if he had a casual glance, but just this glance made her heart feel like she was hit hard by something. "What are you looking at?" His voice was low, and he felt a little impatient, as if he thought they were too careless. Lin Ruoxi was shocked and quickly lowered her head, her face as red as if it could drip blood. Zhang Xiaoqing was not that tight, and she called her with a smile, "Nothing is nothing, we are just passing by." "Brother Haotian, smoke and hurt your body, please stop smoking." Xu Haotian ignored her, but just snorted coldly, turned around and continued to smoke, as if he was just careful. Lin Ruoxi returned to her senses and pulled Xiaoqing forward, his steps flying fast, as if something was chasing her behind. It was so far away from the alley that she dared to take a breath, and her heartbeat was still extremely fast. Zhang Xiaoqing looked at her like this and couldn't help laughing. "Ruoxi, you're too arrogant, right? Isn't it just that you were taking a look? Look at you tightly, your face is red like a tomato." Lin Ruoxi bit his lip without saying a word. She knew that her side-like appearance was very unpromising, but she couldn't control it. At that moment, Xu Haotian's eyes looked like a knife, which made her feel panicked and irritated. She even started thinking, does he think I'm very strange? Do you think I'm too careless? Or, he didn't take me seriously at all? The wind on the river bank was a little swaying, which made her brain wake up a little. Zhang Xiaoqing bought 2 cups of milk tea and gave her a cup. "Okay, don't think so much, just drink some sweetness and feel better." Lin Ruoxi took the milk tea and sipped it in small sips. The sweet smell melted in her mouth, but her heart was still empty. The night is getting thick, and fewer people are on the river bank. The lights from far away reflect on the water surface, sparkling. Lin Ruoxi sat on the bench, holding her knees, and watching the water dazed. Zhang Xiaoqing sat beside her, brushing her phone, and suddenly said, "Ruoxi, do you think you have to tell him if you like someone? If you don't say anything, will you regret it?" Lin Ruoxi was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect Xiaoqing to ask this. She lowered her head and looked at the milk tea cup in her hand, and her voice was very light. "I don't know. Maybe I will regret it even more if I say it." She didn't dare to say it. In fact, she was very scared, afraid that she would lose the qualifications she secretly liked, and afraid that she would turn into a joke in the eyes of others. Xiaoqing turned her head and looked at her with a bit of seriousness in her eyes. "Ruoxi, don't keep turning yourself off. If you like it, you like it. What's the big deal? At least try it, what's the point?" Lin Ruoxi didn't say anything, but just smiled, with a little helpless smile. She knew that Xiaoqing had good intentions, but she also knew that people like Xu Haotian were too far away from her and did not have the courage to get close to her. As the night wind blows, a stream of ripples appear on the river. Lin Ruoxi looked at the water and suddenly remembered the lonely back of Xu Haotian in the alley. A curiosity surged in his heart. What was he thinking when he was standing there alone? Is it because of Qinmanting? Or, is there something else? She snatched her head, threw these miserable thoughts out of her brain, and told herself not to think more. But deep in my heart, there was still a small voice saying, "Lin Ruoxi, should you do something, even if it was just a small step?" The next morning, Lin Ruoxi walked into the gate of Yangwang High School with her bookcase on her back. Yangwang was on her body, and she couldn't warm the mood in her heart. Last night on the river bank, Zhang Xiaoqing's words kept moving in her brain, as if a small seed was planted, and buds popped up from time to time, making her feel distracted. She lowered her head, her pace was a little slow, and the back of Xu Haotian leaned against the wall of the alley last night, in his cold eyes. She snatched her head and tried to throw away these miserable thoughts, but the more she wanted to forget, the more she felt more and more in her heart. Ruoxi. Why are you stupid? Let's go. Today's first session is old Chen's mathematics class, and he's so fucked again. Zhang Xiaoqing caught up from behind, hooked her shoulders, and her short pink hair was dazzling under the sun. Lin Ruoxi was pulled by her and smiled reluctantly. I understand, don't pull me, I'll leave myself. Xiaoqing glanced at her and smiled. What happened? Didn't you sleep well last night? Or was she thinking about some guy wearing leather cushions again? It's clear. Lin Ruoxi's face turned red, his voice raised a little, attracting several students passing by to look back. She quickly lowered her head, pretending to organize her bookcase, and muttered in a low voice, Don't say anything, I don't think of him. But when she said this, she felt that she was not in a good mood. The sunny sounded and she didn't tease her anymore, but just pulled her to speed up her pace towards the classroom. The first class was indeed Chen's mathematics. Lin Ruoxi sat in the last row, pretending to listen carefully, and the pen in his hand was painted on the draft paper. She painted a few circles in a blurry back, and the incident happened last night in her brain. She bit her pen and felt in her heart, isn't it right? If you like someone, should you do something? But what can she do? She didn't even have the courage to say to Xu Haotian, let alone make him notice him. After the next class, the classroom is always hot. Zhang Xiaoqing came over and said in a low voice, Ruoxi, I just heard that Xu Haotian seemed to be in a particularly bad mood these days, and he heard it because of something at home. Do you think that kind of person he has something to worry about? Lin Ruoxi was stunned for a moment, and the pen in his hand stopped. She didn't expect that Xiaoqing would mention this, and her brain suddenly flashed like he was standing alone in the alley last night. The feeling of loneliness seemed to be mixed with a corner of her heart. What's going on at home? What's going on? She couldn't help asking, with a little careful voice. Xiaoqing said to her shoulders, I don't know the specifics. I heard that his father had divorced a long time ago. He had been with his father, but the relationship was very bad and he often quarreled. Anyway, his temper probably won't be related to this. After saying that, she patted Ruoxi on the shoulder, Don't think too much, let's think about what to eat for lunch. Lin Ruoxi pointed his head, but he couldn't think too much about it as Xiaoqing said. She looked down at the dunk on the draft paper and suddenly felt a little moved, wanting to learn more about Xu Haotian, not because of gossip, but because she thought that under his cold appearance, there seemed to be many stories hidden that no one knew. While having lunch, Lin Ruoxi and Xiaoqing sat in the corner of the cafeteria, holding two simple pork meals in front of them. She plucked her absent-mindedly, her eyes unconsciously looking away. Xu Haotian sat outside several tables, wearing the magazine black leather clip, and there were several followers next to him, laughing and talking about something. He lowered his head and ate, and occasionally raised his head and said a few words. His expression was still so cold, as if he was separated from everyone. Ruoxi, have you peeked again? Xiaoqing bit the chopsticks and smiled happily. I tell you, if you really want to get close to him, you have to find an opportunity, right? I'm watching. When will there be any progress? Lin Ruoxi was so hot that she said that Lin Ruoxi quickly withdrew her eyes and ate with her head down. I didn't look. I just want to take a look. But she didn't believe this, and Xiaoqing even smiled and slapped the table. Come on, your eyes are almost stuck to others. Lin Ruoxi had no choice but to bury his head and eat, and his heart began to rewind the opportunity that Xiaoqing said. She knew she didn't have the kind of silly to talk, but if she kept hiding like this and doing nothing, she wouldn't be willing to give up. At this moment, Xiaoqing suddenly came over and said in a short voice, Hey, I have an idea. Aren't you painting a lot? Or find a reason to give him a painting or something, as the reason for a matchmaking? Send a picture? Lin Ruoxi was stunned. The first reaction in her brain was to refuse. No, he must think I'm very strange. And how could he accept it? Xiaoqing rolled her eyes. You know it's not possible without trying. Besides, How can you know if you don't try? At worst, you will definitely be rejected and you won't lose any meat. Lin Ruoxi bit her lip and said nothing, but her heart began to move. She knew that Xu Haotian had made sense, but she was still afraid of being rejected, and afraid of becoming a joke. During the afternoon class, Lin Ruoxi was still absent-minded. The teacher was talking on the stage and was flying. She stared at the window and was stunned. Her brain was full of Xu Haotian's suggestions. Giving a painting? It sounded like a good idea, but what was she going to plan? Painting him? No, it's too embarrassing. Painting scenery? It seems that there is no special meaning. She bit her pen and thought for a long time, and finally decided to draw a sketch of the playground and a vague back. This could not only express what it means, but not be too straightforward. After school, Lin Ruoxi did not go with Xu Haotian, but left it alone in the classroom, opened the sketchbook, and began to paint it carefully. The sun shines in from the windows, and the classroom is quiet and only the pen is rustling on the paper. She painted very slowly, and every pen was careful: the silhouette of the playground, the ball rack far away, and the back of the tree. Although it was blurry, she knew who it was. After painting, she looked at the finished product and her face was a little burning, and she was both expectant and tight. Ruoxi, aren't you leaving yet? Xu Haotian suddenly came into her head from the door and saw the painting in her hand. Her eyes lit up. It's pretty good. This back figure looks like someone, right? Why are you planning to give it away? Lin Ruoxi was startled by her, and hurriedly closed the notebook and stammered, I haven't thought about it yet, maybe. Xu Haotian walked in with a smile and patted her on the shoulder. Just do it if you think about it, don't hesitate. I tell you, tomorrow is the weekend. I heard that Xu Haotian often goes to the back alley on weekends. Why don't you go and touch the air tomorrow? Tomorrow? Lin Ruoxi's heart beat faster and his brain became a group. She originally wanted to delay for a few more days, but when Xu Haotian said this, she suddenly felt that she couldn't do it. She gritted her teeth and clicked a little. Okay, I'll try. Xu Haotian heard it and clapped her hands excitedly. That's right. Remember, don't be nervous, just be a friend, it's no big deal. That night, Lin Ruoxi lay on the bed, turning around and unable to sleep. She hugged the painting in her head and repeatedly simulated the scene of tomorrow. How should she open her mouth? What to say? What should I do if Xu Haotian directly refuses? The more she thought about it, the tighter she became, and her palms were sweating, but there was another expectation in her heart, as if a small group of fire was ignited, making her heart warm. The next morning, Lin Ruoxi got up early and specially picked a clean white shirt. Although it was still the thick black framed glass, she looked at the lens and felt that she seemed a little different. She carefully stuffed the painting into her bookcase, took a deep breath, and plucked up her courage and left the door. The back alley of Yangwang High School is not far away from her home. The alley on weekends is much more peaceful than usual, and only a few passers-by hurriedly passed by. She stood at the entrance of the alley, tightly clenching her bag, her heart beat as fast as if she was about to jump out of her chest. She walked a few steps and indeed saw Xu Haotian deep in the alley. He was still wearing the black leather cushion, standing against the wall, without holding a cigarette in his hand, just looking down at his phone, his eyebrows slightly snaking, as if he had something to worry about. Lin Ruoxi stood nowhere, his feet stopped, his brain was blank. She wanted to turn around, but her feet seemed to be on the ground and could not move. Hey, are you standing there? Xu Haotian's voice suddenly sounded, low and a little impatient. He looked up and looked at it, his eyes were still so cold, as if he could hold people back. Lin Ruoxi was shocked and kept his head down, and took out the book from his bookcase in a hurry. The sound was as delicate as a mosquito hum. I have something to show you. Xu Haotian raised his eyebrows, without saying a word, but just walked closer and stood in front of her. He was much taller than her, and he felt very pressured. Lin Ruoxi was so nervous that he didn't dare to exert force even when he breathed. She trembled her hand and turned the picture open, and came to him, and said in a short voice, "This is my painting. I'll give it to you. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter." Xu Haotian looked at the painting with his head down. His expression did not change much, but his eyes were slightly turned on. He reached out to take the book and flipped it casually, but the sound was still cold. Are you doing this? Are you so lazy? Lin Ruoxi's heart sank, thinking that she was really self-indulgent, so she hurriedly said, No, there is nothing special about it, just casual painting, forget it if you don't like it. She said as she wanted to get the book back, but Haotian didn't give it to her, but just closed the book and stuffed it into her pocket, and said lightly, Save it. Lin Ruoxi was stunned, but he didn't expect that he would accept it. She looked up at him and found that his expression was still so cold, but her eyes seemed to be less impatient. Her heart was beating and she hurriedly said, Then. I'll leave first. After saying that, she turned around and ran. Her pace was flying fast, as if something was chasing her from behind. She stopped and gasped against the wires on the road. Her face was burning like a fire, and her heart was still beating very fast, but the corners of her mouth couldn't help but slam it a little. He accepted it, although he didn't say anything good to listen to, he at least didn't throw it away. She covered her chest and felt that she had taken a small step. Although she was very small, it was a big step for her. In the next few days, Lin Ruoxi's heart was always sweet. Although Xu Haotian still looked cold and didn't tell her anymore, every time she saw him in the campus, she would unconsciously look at him, as if she had a little secret in her heart. After Zhang Xiaoqing knew about this, she smiled so hard that she slapped her thighs. Ruoxi, you can. The first step is gone. Should we talk about it next? What are you talking about? Lin Ruoxi red face and lowered her fingers. He ignored me, why should I talk? Xiaoqing rolled her eyes. You are stupid, find a reason. For example, ask him what happened to his paintings, or help him with a class. He has such a bad performance, isn't you just able to help? Refined lessons? Lin Ruoxi was stunned, and a thought suddenly flashed through his brain. Xu Haotian's achievements are indeed very poor, and he is often criticized by teachers. If he can help him replenish his skills, he may have more opportunities to contact him. But she began to hesitate again. Will he be willing to do it? What if she thought she was meddling too much? Just as she was confronted, a news suddenly came from the class. There will be a math exam next week, and Mr. Chen left the conversation, and whoever fails the exam must go to the teaching staff to write a review. Lin Ruoxi felt a little moved and thought it was an opportunity. She plucked up her courage and found Xu Haotian after school. He was smoking with several brothers at the funeral scene. When she saw her coming, she raised her eyebrows and spit it out. Are you fucking me again? Lin Ruoxi was so nervous that her palms were sweating, but she still said with a hard head, that, there will be a math exam next week. I heard you, maybe need help. I can help you replenish it if you want it. Her voice became less and less, and she almost couldn't hear it in the end, and her head was so low that it was almost buried in her chest. Xu Haotian looked at her, and saw an accident in his eyes. Then he sneered, Replenish? Do you think I am like someone who can listen to classes? Lin Ruoxi felt in his heart, and he felt that he was really not interested, but she still said in a small voice, I just want to help, no other meaning. I don't want to forget it. After saying that, she turned around and wanted to leave, but Xu Haotian suddenly opened his mouth. Wait. Okay. I'll leave school tomorrow, see you in the library. Lin Ruoxi was stunned, unexpectedly he would agree. She turned to look at him and found that he had turned away, leaving her with a cold back. She stood there, her heart beat so fast that she couldn't help but snoring. Tomorrow, the library, she actually wants to refill with Xu Haotian. After school the next day, Lin Ruoxi came to the library early, found a corner by the window to sit down, holding the math book in his hand, and was so tight that he was careful when he breathed. Xu Haotian came noon and later than she thought. He was wearing the black leather crotches and carrying a single shoulder bag. He sat in front of her casually, with his voice still so cold. Say, how can I fix it? Lin Ruoxi took a deep breath and began to explain basic mathematical questions to him. She spoke very slowly, for fear that he would not understand, but Xu Haotian looked absent-minded and kept playing with his cell phone. so he would only occasionally say a word. Lin Ruoxi felt a little disappointed, but he still said seriously. When he glanced at him, he found that his face looked particularly beautiful under the sun. By the time the replenishment was over, it was already dark. Xu Haotian stood up and said casually, "It's okay, thank you." He left after he said that, without looking at her more. Lin Ruoxi looked at his back and couldn't say whether she was disappointed or happy, but she knew that being able to sit opposite him and talk to him so much was something she had never thought about. In the next few days, their refining became a tacit understanding. Although Xu Haotian still looked cold, he would come every time, and occasionally ask her a few questions. Lin Ruoxi discovered that he was not stupid, but he had never learned it carefully. He could understand it with just a little talk. She felt more and more happy, and she felt that she seemed to be closer to him, even if it was only a little small. But the good times didn't last long, and Chen Manting soon found out about this. After school that day, Lin Ruoxi walked out of the library and was blocked by Chen Manting. She was wearing a famous school uniform, with exquisite makeup, and smiled sweetly, with a pointed curly. "Lin Ruoxi, did you hear that you have been very close to Haotian recently? Refresh? Ah, who do you think you are?" Lin Ruoxi felt nervous and hurriedly, I just helped him to refine the class, there was no other meaning." But Chen Manting didn't hear it at all, and her smile became even colder. "Don't put it on, who can't see your little thoughts? Tell you, Haotian is not something you can think of. If you know each other, you will be far away from him." After saying that, she turned around, leaving a perfume smell on Lin Ruoxi's anxiety. That night, Lin Ruoxi sat at the desk, staring at the math book and staring at it. Chen Manting's words were like a knife, which made her heart hurt. She knew there was a gap between her and Xu Haotian, but she didn't expect that she would be warned like this when she tried to get close. She bit her lip, her eyes were a little red, but there was a voice in her heart saying, "Lin Ruoxi, you have finally come to this point, can you just let go?" She slammed her head, took a deep breath, and told herself that she could not retreat. The replenishment has to continue. No matter what Chen Manting said, she doesn't want to give up this little approach. After all, youth is just this time, and she doesn't want to leave any regrets. A few days later, the math quiz was completed, and Xu Haotian actually passed the exam. Although it was just crossing the line, it was already a miracle for him. After school, he found Lin Ruoxi in the library, pulled the corner of his mouth rarely, and said, "Thank you, I haven't lost my face this time." Lin Ruoxi looked at his clean smile, his heart beat too fast, and he quickly lowered his head and said, "No, nothing, it should be." Xiang came in from the window and shone on them. Lin Ruoxi secretly looked up at him and found that his eyes were a little gentler than usual, as if an iceberg had melted a small corner. Lin Ruoxi sat in the window seat of the library, holding a math training book in his hand, his eyes a little lost. The light of the sun shines in obliquely from the window, swaying on the desktop, forming a small piece of warm gold. She looked down at the topic on the practice, and her brain was filled with the words Xu Haotian just said, "Thank you, I haven't lost my face this time." His voice was still so low, with a little unintentional instinct, but that pure smile seemed to have been engraved in her heart, and she could not get rid of it. She bit her pen, her face slightly irritated, and her heartbeat still couldn't calm down. The library is very quiet, with only the sound of occasionally flipped books and the low birds that are far away. Xu Haotian had already left, and the only thing that left her was the pen that he put down on the corner of the table, and the pen cap was a little worn, as if it had been used for a long time. She stared at the pen for a long time, and couldn't help but reach out and touch it, as if she could feel his temperature from it. "Ruoxi, aren't you leaving yet?" Zhang Xiaoqing's voice suddenly rose from behind, scaring Lin Ruoxi's hand trembled, and quickly closed the training paper and pretended to organize things. I'll leave immediately, why are you here?" Xiaoqing walked over with a smile, dragged a chair and sat down, her short pink hair was dazzling under the sun. "I've just passed by. Seeing that you are still in a daze, I guess you must be thinking of someone again. What's the matter? Have you made any progress in refining today?" Lin Ruoxi's face turned red and said in a low voice, "No. No progress, He passed the exam and said thank you. Xiao Qing heard it, her eyes lit up, and she slapped the table. It's not wrong. Can someone like Xu Haotian say thank you? It's already a huge progress. You little teacher, you are a very good teacher. Lin Ruoxi was even more embarrassed by her and hurriedly said, don't say it, I'm just helping you. Help? Xiao Qing rolled her eyes, approached a little, and lowered her voice. Ruoxi, don't be stupid with me. You helped him replenish these few days, and the smile on her face was more than the previous year. Don't say I can't see it. Seriously, have you ever thought about taking this opportunity to say more to him? For example, ask him to go out for a meal or something? Agree. Lin Ruoxi was stunned. The first reaction in his brain was to refuse. No, how could he agree? And, I don't have that swear. Xiao Qing sighed and patted her on the shoulder. You just don't have the confidence. If you hear me, find a reason, such as wishing him to pass the exam, asking him to eat dinner, and as a thank you banquet. It will never appear too abrupt, right? Lin Ruoxi bit his lip without saying a word, but his heart began to move. Xiao Qing said something that made sense. After so much replenishment, she and Xu Haotian had a tacit understanding. If she could take another step, she might be afraid to think about it. She snatched her head and didn't dare to think about it, but the little flame in her heart was getting stronger and stronger, which made her feel a little unstoppable. That night, Lin Ruoxi lay on the bed, turning around and unable to sleep. She stared at the ceiling, her brain full of Xiao Qing's suggestions. Please eat with Xu Haotian? It sounded like a fishing day at night, but she felt that if she didn't try it, she would always feel a little unwilling. She took a deep breath, took her cell phone from the bedside cabinet, and sent Xiao Qing a message. Xi Qing, I decided to try it. Do you think of a reason for me? The words were filled with excitement. Okay. I wish him a happy exam, so I thank him for his cooperation in refining. This doesn't make you too proactive and you won't be embarrassed. I will ask him directly after I leave school tomorrow. Remember, don't hesitate. Lin Ruoxi looked at the screen of his mobile phone, his heart beat faster, but he still gritted his teeth and replied with a good. After school the next day, Lin Ruoxi waited at the door of the bookstore, holding the bag in his hand, and his palms were covered in sweat. She wore that thick black-framed lens, her head was so low that it was almost buried in her chest, and her brain repeatedly sang what she wanted to say. Far away, Xu Haotian walked from the direction of the teaching building, and was still the black leather clasp, carrying a bag on his shoulders, and his steps were not tight or slow, and his body was scattered with a "don't get close to me." Lin Ruoxi took a deep breath, plucked up his courage to greet him, and shouted in a low voice, Xu Haotian. Her voice was as delicate as a mosquito hum, almost blown away by the wind. Xu Haotian stopped, raised his eyebrows, looked at her with his head down, his voice still so cold. What are you doing? Lin Ruoxi felt nervous and hurriedly said, That, you passed the exam this time. I want to say, do you want to eat a meal together and act like a blessing? Of course, if you are inconvenient, forget it. After saying this, she felt as if she had exhausted all her strength and was even more depressed, and she didn't even dare to look at him. Xu Haotian was silent for a few seconds, and there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. Then he sneered, Eat? Just because he passed the exam? Lin Ruoxi felt in his heart, and felt that he was really not interested, so he hurriedly said, No, nothing special, it's just to say casually, it's okay if you don't want to go. Okay. Xu Haotian suddenly stopped her, and his voice was still cold. At 7 o'clock in the evening, don't miss the roasting next to the convenience store at the entrance of the school gate. After saying that, he turned around and left without looking at her. Lin Ruoxi stood there in a daze, his brain was blank, and it took him a long time to react. Did he agree? She covered her chest, her heart beat so fast that it was about to jump out, and the corner of her mouth couldn't help but slam it a little. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Lin Ruoxi arrived at the school gate early, wearing a simple white t-shirt, denim pants, and the black-framed glasses. It looked nothing like usual, but she felt so tight. The lights of the roasted sodom were lit, and the fragrance of charcoal and cumin was scented in the air. Several small tables were filled with people, shouting and shouting. She stood on the road, holding her phone in her hand, staring at her eyes unconsciously, for fear of missing Xu Haotian's figure. At 7:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00:00::::::0:00::::00:ão::00:ous He was still wearing the leather cushion, putting his hands in his pocket, and walking over in a scattered way. When he saw her, he raised his eyebrows. It's pretty early. Lin Ruoxi hurriedly slammed his head, his voice as small as a mosquito. No. It's not long. What do you want to eat? I'll ask. Xu Haotian casually glanced at the sack, found an empty table to sit down, and said lightly, just a few skewers, 2 bottles of beer. Lin Ruoxi clicked the head, ran to order the boss, and hurriedly returned with the number sign and sat down. She lowered her head, pretending to look at the tuning bottle on the table, and there was a group in her brain, without even the courage to speak. Xu Haotian leaned against the chair, opened a bottle of beer at will, took a sip, glanced at her, and whispered with a little voice, "Why, did I just come out just to be so quiet?" "Ah. No. No." Lin Ruoxi hurriedly held his hand, his face red like a tomato. "I just don't know what to say." Xu Haotian sneered, and didn't say anything anymore, just drank beer with his head down, and there was no emotion in his eyes. Lin Ruoxi bit his lip, feeling a little disappointed, but he still plucked up his courage and said, "That, you passed the exam, it's really awesome. I think, as long as you work hard, you will definitely learn better." Xu Haotian raised his hand and looked up at her. A complex look flashed in his eyes. Then he regained his indifference. What's the use of learning well? It's not the same after graduating. His voice was low and he was ridiculed by a little self-deprecating. Lin Ruoxi was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect him to say this. She gritted her teeth and said in a short voice, "No. At least, if you work hard, you won't regret it, right?" Xu Haotian didn't answer, but just lowered his head and drank a sip of beer. After a long silence, he said lightly, "You are pretty good at saying it." Lin Ruoxi didn't know whether he was yes or ridiculing, but he still felt relieved. At least, he didn't just face the cold and left. The skewers were served quickly, hot and fragrant. Lin Ruoxi carefully took a string and gave it to him. "This, you try it, it's delicious." Xu Haotian took it and took a bite. He didn't say it well or not, but just pointed it casually. The two of them were eating peacefully, and occasionally saying a few words. Mostly Lin Ruoxi looked for questions carefully, and Xu Haotian should have a few words. Although the atmosphere was not very hot, Lin Ruoxi felt warm in her heart, as if the distance at this moment was closer than ever. Halfway through the meal, Xu Haotian suddenly put down the skewers and asked in a low voice, "Why do you want to help me replenish? Don't you think it's irritating?" Lin Ruoxi was stunned for a moment, and the movement in his hand stopped. She didn't expect that he would take the initiative to ask this, and she didn't react for a while, so she could only say in a low voice, I just think you are not stupid, but you just don't help you, so, want to try it." Xu Haotian looked at her, and there was a little more exploration in his eyes, as if he wanted to see something from her face. Lin Ruoxi was so nervous that he saw him that he was busy lowering his head and pretending to eat, but his heartbeat was so fast. After a long time, Xu Haotian took back his video and said lightly, "Follow you." Although his temperament was still cold, Lin Ruoxi felt that he seemed to be not so repulsive. The night is getting heavy, and fewer people are burning and roasting, and the lights on the road are dim and yellow and warm. Lin Ruoxi secretly glanced at Xu Haotian and found that he was drinking beer with his head down, his face looked particularly three-dimensional under the light, and his eyebrows were slightly lit, as if he was thinking about something. She felt aroused in her heart and suddenly shed courage and asked, what are you thinking when you are alone in the back alley? I think you aren't very happy. Xu Haotian raised his head and looked at her, his eyes as cold as if he could save others. You have a lot of care. Lin Ruoxi was shocked and hurriedly held his hand. Yes. I'm sorry, I asked on purpose, or, say it. She lowered her head as she said, wishing she could find a place to diamond it. Xu Haotian looked at her like this, was silent for a few seconds, and suddenly said, there is nothing to say about the affairs at home. Lin Ruoxi was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect him to answer. She looked up at him carefully and found that there was a bit of fatigue in his eyes, as if he had taken off some kind of sickness. She bit her lip and said lightly, if there's anything you don't feel happy, you can say it, and maybe you will feel better. Although I can't help with anything, at least I can hear it. Xu Haotian didn't say anything, but just lowered his head and drank a sip of beer, with a complex feeling flashing in his eyes. After a long time, he said in a low voice, my dad has been rude recently and said he wanted to send me to another place to read books to avoid being jealous at home. His voice was very low, with a little suppressed anger. Lin Ruoxi heard it, and felt a little nervous. He didn't expect him to tell her about these things. She said in a low voice, then, do you want to go? What's the difference between going or not? Xu Haotian pulled the corner of his mouth with a self-deprecating voice, anyway, no one cares, I want to fuck me. Lin Ruoxi looked at him, and his heart seemed to be grabbed by something sour. She gritted her teeth and plucked up her courage and said, no. At least, I think you should have your own choice. Whether it is reading or different, it is worth trying if you want to do it. Xu Haotian was stunned for a moment, turned to look at her, and there was an unexpected look in his eyes. Lin Ruoxi was so nervous that he saw it, but she still said it hard, although I don't understand your situation, I know that I can't escape and solve the problem. You are so smart that you can definitely find your own way. After speaking, she lowered her fingers, so tight that she dared not look at him. Xu Haotian was silent for a long time before he said in a low voice, you are so strange. Lin Ruoxi didn't know what he meant, but he felt relieved. At least, he didn't leave with a cold face. The night wind blew over, with a hint of turmoil, and the two of them sat quietly. Neither of them spoke anymore, but there was an unspeakable tacit understanding in the air. Since that day, Lin Ruoxi and Xu Haotian's relationship seems to have become a little different. The remedial still continued. Although he was still cold, he would occasionally take the initiative to ask her several questions, and even say thank you after she finished speaking. Lin Ruoxi felt sweet in her heart, feeling that she seemed to have really walked into his world, even if it was just a small corner. But this little happiness didn't last long, and Chen Manting soon came to the door. After school that day, Lin Ruoxi walked out of the library and was blocked by Chen Manting and several girls. She was wearing a famous school uniform, with exquisite makeup, and smiled sweetly, with a pointed sauce. Lin Ruoxi, did you hear that you have been very close to Haotian recently? Are you still having a meal together? Who do you think you are? Lin Ruoxi felt nervous and hurriedly, I just helped him to refine the class, there was no other meaning. But Chen Manting didn't hear it at all, and her smile became even colder. Don't put it on. Who can't see your little thoughts? Tell you, Haotian is not something you can think of. If you know each other, you will be far away from him. After saying that, she turned around, leaving a perfume smell on Lin Ruoxi's anxiety. That night, Lin Ruoxi sat at the desk, staring at the math book and staring at it. Chen Manting's words were like a knife, which made her heart hurt. She knew there was a gap between her and Xu Haotian, but she didn't expect that she would be warned like this when she tried to get close. She bit her lip, her eyes were a little red, but there was a voice in her heart saying, Lin Ruoxi, you have finally come to this point, can you just let go? She slammed her head, took a deep breath, and told herself that she could not retreat. The replenishment has to continue. No matter what Chen Manting said, she doesn't want to give up this little approach. After all, youth is just this time, and she doesn't want to leave any regrets. A few days later, the school began preparing for the evening class, and the second-year students in high school were also asked to participate in activities to help them arrange the work. Lin Ruoxi was assigned to the decoration group, responsible for cutting paper flowers and color belts, and was busy and sweaty. Zhang Xiaoqing was helping her, and kept complaining, "What's the point of this broken activity? It's so exhausting." "Ruoxi, do you think Xu Haotian will come? I heard that people like him are the most concerned about this kind of match." Lin Ruoxi glanced at him, and then slammed his head. "It shouldn't be. He doesn't seem to like being hot." Xiaoqing said with a loud voice, "That's not necessarily. If you go to such a party at the graduation night, you might be here to be hot. If you want to see him, remember to dress up beautifully and don't always dress like passers-by." Lin Ruoxi's face was red and she didn't answer, but she had a lot of expectations in her heart. On the day of her graduation party, she specially changed a blue dress. Although she was still wearing the black-framed glasses, she looked much more energetic than usual. At the evening party, the colorful lights were hanging high, the music was deafening, and the students were watching in groups of 3 or 5, and the atmosphere was very warm. Lin Ruoxi and Xiaoqing stood beside the crowd, holding a glass of juice in their hands, staring at them unconsciously. Xiaoqing poked her in the arm and smiled happily. "What are you looking for?" "Looking for someone?" Lin Ruoxi hurriedly slapped her head, but her face was red. Just then, Xiaoqing's eyes suddenly lit up and she pointed at the distance. "Hey, look, isn't that Xu Haotian?" Lin Ruoxi looked in the direction she pointed, and indeed saw Xu Haotian standing by the playground, dressed in black, and still the leather jacket, which seemed out of place with the surrounding heat. He put his hand in his pocket, looking down at his cell phone, as if waiting for someone. Lin Ruoxi's heart beats faster, and his hands holding the juice cup tightened, his brain full of miscellaneous thoughts. "Go, are you fucking me in a daze?" Xiaoqing pushed her and said softly, "If you don't catch this opportunity, what are you waiting for?" Lin Ruoxi gritted his teeth and plucked up his courage and walked towards him. Every step seemed to step on cotton, so soft that he was exhausted. When she walked to him, she shouted in a low voice, "Xu Haotian." Xu Haotian raised his head and raised his eyebrows when he saw her, and his voice was still cold. "What are you doing?" Lin Ruoxi took a deep breath and said to the point of his head, "That will be quite hot later. Do you want to take a look together?" She lowered her head after she said it, so tight that she dared not look at him. Xu Haotian was silent for a few seconds, and then said lightly, "Just let it go." Although his language was still cold, he did not refuse. Lin Ruoxi was delighted, and he was busy following him and walked towards the center of the playground. The lights at the evening party were flashing, and the music became louder and louder. The two of them walked shoulder to shoulder. Although they didn't say anything, Lin Ruoxi felt that it was like a dream at this moment. In the second half of the evening party, the host announced that he would play an interactive game and draw lucky spectators to come on stage to confess or perform. Lin Ruoxi stood in the crowd, feeling a little nervous, afraid of being drawn. At this moment, Chen Manting suddenly walked over from the side, smiling sweetly, holding a chorus. "Lin Ruoxi, have you heard that you are very familiar with Haotian recently? Do you want to go on stage to confess and help everyone?" Lin Ruoxi's face turned red and she hurriedly said, I can't do it, don't joke." But Chen Manting didn't let her go at all, and deliberately said, "Don't be shy, everyone is watching, Haotian is here too, maybe he wants to listen too." Her words caused laughter from the surroundings. Lin Ruoxi felt as if she had been stripped naked and stood in the crowd, feeling ashamed of shame. Just when she was at a loss, Xu Haotian suddenly opened his mouth. His voice was low and he held unquestionable force. "It's so cold, don't be shy." His eyes were as cold as a knife, and he swept Chen Manting. The latter was stunned for a moment, smiling a little embarrassedly, and then he heard a voice, Okay, it's a joke, Haotian, you're too confused." After saying that, she turned around, leaving a smell of perfume. Lin Ruoxi lowered her head, feeling grateful and embarrassed in her heart, and she couldn't even say thank you. Xu Haotian glanced at her and said lightly, don't pay attention to her, let's go. After saying that, he turned around and walked towards the playground. Lin Ruoxi was stunned for a moment and hurriedly followed. The two walked to a peaceful corner, far away from the noise of the evening party, and the night wind blew over, bringing a sense of turmoil. Lin Ruoxi stood beside him, his hands tightly clenched, and he plucked up his courage and said, "Just, thank you for helping me to untie it." Xu Haotian didn't look at her, but just looked down at his feet, and the sound was still cold, nothing. Lin Ruoxi bit his lip, his heart pricked for a long time, and finally plucked up his courage and said, "In fact, I always want to tell you, I like you very much. It's not because of who you are, but because I think you deserve to be liked." After saying this, she felt as if she had used all her strength, and was so low that she was burying her chest, so tight that she forgot her breathing. Xu Haotian was stunned for a moment, turned to look at her, and his eyes were shocked, and then he returned to peace. He was silent for a long time before he said in a low voice, "You are so stupid." Lin Ruoxi felt a chill in his heart, thinking he was refusing, but the next second, Xu Haotian suddenly stretched out his hand and patted her on the head. His voice was low and he carried a warmth, but, "Thank you." Lin Ruoxi was stunned, looked at him with his head up, and found that his eyes were much softer than usual, as if an iceberg had melted a large area. The night wind blows, the lights on the playground flash far away, and the music is hidden. Lin Ruoxi looked at Xu Haotian and felt like her heart was full of flowers. Although he didn't like it, at this moment, she felt that she really touched his heart. Xu Haotian turned over and said lightly, "Let's go, the evening is not over." After he finished speaking, Lin Ruoxi hurriedly followed, and couldn't help but sneer on the corners of his mouth. Under the night, the figures of the two people walked shoulder to shoulder. Although the future was still full of unknowns, Lin Ruoxi knew that no matter what happened next, she would not regret her courage at this moment. The road to youth is still very long, and their story has just begun.